I'm Elizabeth Lynch, a graduate student here at West Virginia University, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Life at the Land Grant, a Davis College podcast. The Davis College envisions a world sustainably fed, clothed, and sheltered. This podcast aims to highlight outstanding faculty, staff, students, and alumni that are opening doors to new opportunities and making an impact in our mountain state and beyond. So without further ado, let's bring on our next guest and learn more about their life at the land grant. I'm incredibly excited to have Dr. Yong-Lak Park, a professor of entomology, here with us today to share his story. Thank you so much for coming on today's podcast and talking with me.
Thanks for your invitation.
Hey, I love having people come on and share the things that they love doing. And for you, it's insects. And I say that, and I'm sure people get a little heebie-jeebie about it, but insects are pretty cool. And we all have the passions that kind of drive us, and we find those niche things that make us excited. So why did you choose entomology?
That's a good question. So when I was very young, I used to observe or catch lots of insects, the kids things. But one day, I caught a butterfly with my bare hands. And I still remember the feeling of the delicacy of the insect wing because it is, butterfly wings are covered with the tiny kind of glittering scales.
Mm-hmm.
So I was so curious one day what they really look like. And then I had the chance to see the scales under the microscope.
Wow.
The moment I saw the butterfly wing scales under microscope, it changed everything. I was thinking of maybe doctor or maybe astronauts for my career, but no. The moment, it was an amazing moment in my life. And from that day forward, I decided to study insects. Then I kept pursuing my entomology career, and here I am still an entomologist.
It was a literal butterfly effect that caused your life path. Isn't it crazy how one small thing can make such a drastic difference in our choices?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And yeah, I wanted to ask, you've been with WVU since 2006, so that's a really long time, a lot of time devoted to this university. What path brought you to WVU?
Yeah, so before I came to WVU in 2006, I was a postdoctoral researcher at the University of California, Riverside. At that time, California had a big problem with a small, tiny insect called the glass-winged sharpshooter. It's a small, tiny insect, but the insect transmits a disease to grapevines. It's called the Pierce's disease. And then that Pierce's disease actually devastated the wine industry in California.
Wow.
And that year, the wine price went up $2 in the entire United States because of that small insects. So my job was figuring out where that tiny insects are in the state of California and how to control them to save grape industry. And then before that, I worked on corn insects and vegetable insects for my master's and doctoral degrees. So my academic background is very broad, even within entomology.
And you've taken all that information and brought it right here to West Virginia in order to make another incredible impact. Your area of expertise is so vast. You do work with integrated pest management, agriculture and forest entomology, and geospatial and spatial database management systems. That's a ton of information. You are incredibly vast in what you do, and that's a really cool thing to bring to West Virginia and be so diverse. If there's one of those things that you could pick that you would consider to be your favorite thing, what would it be?
The question. Okay, sorry. Can you repeat the question?
It's okay. I talk so fast.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
I didn't get the question part.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if you could pick one of those things between integrated pest management, agriculture and forest entomology, your geospatial technology work. Is there a certain thing that you really like to focus on? Is there something that you consider your favorite thing?
Oh, okay. So Can I answer now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm broadly actually a trained entomologist. So traditionally there have been few entomology professors in West Virginia. For a long time I was the only entomology professor at WVU and even state of West Virginia. Can you believe it?
Holy
Only
cow.
entomology professor. So I had to be an expert in many areas in entomology. That's why I had to do forest entomology, geospatial technology, integrated pest management. Uh, However, right now, actually, I'm in West Virginia, and our biggest commodity is forest. And I am really, really interested in forest entomology. We have so many insect species associated with trees and timbers and all of those. So I'm really interested in forest system, and it's very challenging because in the cropland, everything is lined up. Forest is so natural and random. So that kind of challenging makes me stronger entomologist, I guess.
Absolutely. We definitely grow from being put in those challenging situations. And West Virginia is actually considered one of the most biodiverse states in our nation, which is a crazy fact. And, that happens right here in our state. Have you happened to find, is there a certain insect that's really causing problems within our forest systems here in the state?
Right. Not only forest system, in agricultural system too. So I'll just give you an example. The most recently, we have insects called spotted lanternfly, which is the invasive insects. Invasive means we didn't have it, now we have it. So this new insects threatens our fruit crop industry, like apples and peaches and blueberries. So this insect was first reported in 2014 in Pennsylvania, and now we have it in West Virginia, especially in Mon County. We found like last year, and now we have it. We have a big problem. So the thing is, this insect knows how to hitchhike. They know how to ride cars and trains. That's how they spread throughout West Virginia. So we have been working on kind of early detection of this insect so that if we detect early and then we can eradicate them before they spread throughout West Virginia.
Right. You recently received a grant called the Risk Assessment and Management of Spotted Lanternfly in West Virginia Specialty Crops through Research and Outreach. Very long grant title.
Yeah.
So with that grant, can you list some of the top 3 things that you're doing in order to provide that research and outreach of the spotted lanternfly?
Yeah. So what we have been doing is research and outreach. In terms of research, how can you find small, tiny insects invasive, which means we didn't have it? And how can you find it in the state of West Virginia? Can you imagine? Somebody has to go walk and check everywhere in West Virginia. It's impossible.
Right.
We have so few entomologists to do that. So that's why we use satellites, drones, and then spatial modeling to figure out which area will have a higher risk and which area will have a lower risk, which means we may go to the higher risk area and to have a higher chance of finding this spotted lanternfly. And then in addition to that, that's the research part. In terms of outreach, we educated about 8,000 West Virginians about these insects. Even some counties, they don't have this spotted lanternfly yet, but we already educate them so that they are prepared. So when insect comes, they already know what they are looking for. So we are using public eyes to find this spotted lanternfly rather than my lab goes everywhere and look for West Virginia. It's a very not likely to happen.
Right. That'd be a little difficult traveling all parts and all corners of West Virginia. Now, if I were at home and I saw the spotted lanternfly, what can I do as an individual in West Virginia?
Right. So if you are in this county, the spotted lanternfly is already existing, then you just kill them.
Okay.
So you know how to kill them?
With a shoe?
Smash it, right?
Okay.
So especially the eggs are the problem. The
Okay.
adults are big and showy. You can find it easily, but they lay eggs in any surfaces like buildings or anywhere. And then when you see the eggs, you have to scrape out and then kill them.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
good to know. I mean, if you are working on the eradication, I think it's important to do that at a grassroots level. And it
Yeah.
takes random individuals just to make that happen. So it's really good that you're actually educating the public and training people. Okay, this is what you do. Should you see it? And this is how we can make sure that West Virginia forests and croplands are able to maintain their growth and development. So that's a really cool thing.
Correct, Elizabeth. Good job.
And the other thing is that you actually mentioned this within that last question. Your research combines a lot of geospatial technology and integrated pest management.
Yep.
And when we hear the word pest, a lot of times we think of insects or rodents, but sometimes pests can be invasive plants, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. And I actually watched a video about something that you're doing in order to make a difference with these pests that are plants. Why are some of these plants so detrimental? And then what plants specifically are you working on?
Good question. So when we talk about the plants we didn't have, but now we have, it's called invasive plants
Mhm.
or invasive weed. You can say that too. So one of the major problem with the invasive plants in the United States, including West Virginia, is their negative impacts on various ecosystem. So because many other living creatures, living things are dependent upon plants. So when invasive plant comes, other living creatures are utilizing it or helping them to spread their seed. So for example, some invasive plants, Mylaminate, Japanese knotweed, Japanese stilt grass, these are invasive plants and they're so aggressive and they can replace native plants. So when we have invasive plants, they outcompete the native plants and there's no native plants anymore. And sometimes, they can overtop the trees and kill the trees if they are vine. Can you believe one plants
One
can
small
kill one
plant.
tree? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's why we have to control these invasive plants.
And you and your lab are using biological controls, correct? I watched a video about this and your bug bombs. Can you talk a little bit about your bug bombs and then how those are making an impact across West Virginia?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, the bug bomb was a nice the new invention from my lab. So we generally don't try to say bug bomb. It's so kind of like aggressive or negative.
Yeah.
So we use a bug pod.
Bug pod. I like that
Right,
better.
right. But so the bug pod is a just small container where we put the insect inside. Can you believe there is more like a container and we put the insect inside? But the insect we put inside the bug bomb or bug pod are not normal insects. They are very special.
Okay.
Why they are special is we call natural enemy insects. What do? They eat they eat invasive plants. So the insects we put in the bug bomb actually eats the invasive plants. So the idea is actually we put the natural enemy insects into the bug pod, and then we use a drone and then release them from the sky to the place where the invasive plants are. So that's actually the new invention. We're
And
so excited about.
one of the things that you mentioned in your videos and today on this podcast was we as humans, we can't reach every spot where these
Right,
plants are invasive or where,
right.
insects are invasive. We aren't unable to see that. But through newer technology like drones, we're actually able to find where those plants are invasive
Mhm.
and use the drone to drop the bug pod, which is an incredible thing because, I mean, we can't crawl through the woods most of the time and find where these things are invasive or traverse the West Virginia mountains in order to make that happen. So this is an incredible way and safe way to make sure that we are tackling the problem seen in West Virginia forests.
Exactly, Elizabeth. You got it. You nailed it.
Hey, I love this. I think this is incredible.
Right. But one thing I want to add is everything is automated. So when we talk about drone flying, actually we are not flying drone. We program it, and it's called autopilot. So the drones follow the flight path we designed.
Wow.
And then we push button and the drone will do it and come back automatically. And then releasing natural enemy bug bomb is also automated. Whenever we give geo coordinate, drone will fly and then drop it without human control.
That's incredible. And but it also takes a whole other skill set, including, understanding that technology or coding that
Mhm.
drone in order to make sure that it's doing exactly what you want it to do. So again, what you're doing is so diverse. I think it's incredible. One of the great things about people who work in ag and natural resource is that they are extremely diverse in their knowledge base. And I think it's really cool to meet people who are like that. So thank you so much for what you're doing.
Hey, WB hired me because of that.
And I can see why. And I also really love your enthusiasm about this topic. It's pretty cool. I do a lot of research before we talk and before we actually
Mhm.
go on these podcasts. And everyone that I talked to about you said that you were so enthusiastic about your job. You love what you do, and you make other people excited too. I'm excited about bugs right now, and I don't know anything about bugs. I love it.
Okay, I'll make you an entomologist in the near future.
I don't know. I might stick with chickens. I'm not gonna lie. I might stick with chickens, but it's cool to learn about it. I love what you're doing.
Okay.
Now, what are some other research topics that your lab is currently working on?
So yeah, so again, I'm very diverse. I
Hmm.
have a broad academic background, and one of the problem we still are like figuring out in West Virginia is the pollination problem.
Okay.
So my lab has been working on pollinator projects. So have you heard about we are losing honeybees and honeybees are disappearing? So
Right.
it is called the colony collapse disorder. So how can we like mitigate that problem? So one of the idea we had was, can we use alternative pollinators? So we are using mason bees as an alternative pollinators. So we have been working on how to propagate them and the investigate their behavior for pollination. But in addition to that, a few years ago, we have an engineering college, and I worked with them to develop a pollination robot. Yeah, robot. So we studied how mason bees find and collect pollen of blackberries, and then use such behavioral information to develop a robot. So it is called insect-inspired pollination robot. And this has been so popular in the United States. But again, we are working with other disciplines to solve the problem in West Virginia. So
And now I'm incredibly even more interested. What exactly is this robot doing? Does it travel to the areas and then spread pollen on its own?
yeah, so the robot is called autonomous robot. So nobody is controlling, and robot moves and then avoid obstacles in the greenhouse in the field. The thing is, the robot has to find flowers, right? And the thing is, when robots try to find flowers, they have to have cameras, and they have to recognize flowers, and then they have to access to the pollen, and then take the pollen out. The pollen should go to another flower so that they can pollinate.
Hmm.
So all of this part is we call it transdisciplinary. Without one part, we cannot make this robot. So we had a horticulturist, entomologist, myself, and GPS engineer, robotics engineer, and computer vision and AI, machine learning. So we had about 30 people in that project team. It was
Wow.
funded by USDA. And yeah, so that's the project. Again,
That's
we
amazing.
we tried to solve problem with technologies and automation.
Wow. I'm so excited. I'm gonna go home now and I'm gonna look at this up and try to find some videos on this. This is incredible. And it's just another way that, people here at WVU and across the state are trying to make that difference and make that impact. That's incredible. And I wanted to know too, from an entomologist perspective, what can we do at home in order to increase our pollinator population in our areas?
Yes, actually, so we have a some guidelines and recommendations for pollination garden. It's called the pollinator garden or pollination garden. So you can plant certain types of flowering plants in the right time, and then it can help pollinators.
Okay.
So, so for example, we have early season flowering plants, mid season, and late season flowering plants. And if you have to see where you are living first, because
Mhm.
each region has different climates. And then there is a recommendations for that. You can easily find on the internet.
And
That's
just for my own personal knowledge, I don't have a green thumb. I can't grow anything to save my life. Is there anything that I can do if I am unable to grow plants?
sure. You just come to West Virginia University entomology program and volunteer.
No, that's perfect.
We need a lot of volunteers. Again, we are short of entomologists in the state, not only faculty, students, staff. We are short of hands.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And moving into your life at WVU and kind of switching gears a little bit, you also teach as well. Is there a favorite class that you have that you love to teach?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So again, as a single entomologist for a long time at WVU, so I had to teach all the entomology courses available at WVU. It's about 7 or 8 classes.
Holy cow.
Yeah, one of them is insect ecology. That's my favorite because the course has a lots of hands-on activities and collecting trips and observing insect behaviors and conducting fun experiments. So as a part of class, each students need to design and conduct an experiment with insects, and it should be fun and important. I can tell you one of the funnest experiment that student did in the past. So the students was interested in and finding out whether toothpaste can kill cockroach or not. Because the toothpaste has ingredient that kills insects, sodium
Okay.
fluoride. Do you know what the student found?
What do they find?
The cockroach love the toothpaste and they live long.
Of course.
Yeah, so sometimes these insects does not follow the rule.
Yeah. Oh my
So
gosh.
but that's a fun course I teach.
And it makes it so much better when you love what you're doing and you love what you're teaching. And then you have students that come up with incredible ideas like that. It just makes things so much better. I love that. Now, say that I'm an incoming student. What degrees could I obtain if I'm interested in entomology work?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we don't have a entomology undergraduate program at WVU. However, we have an entomology graduate program.
Okay.
But again, we offer several entomology courses at Davis College for undergrad students. So if you become a student in wildlife program, forestry program, horticulture, or even in biology, you will have a chance to take entomology courses at WVU.
That's
So
perfect.
yeah.
There's just opportunities for everyone that come here. And I think that's one of the great things about Davis College is that there are so many opportunities that students can take advantage of. Can you list some of those exciting opportunities within the entomology field that you've seen students take advantage of?
Yeah, so although we don't have an entomology undergraduate program at WVU, you can still participate in entomology in
Right.
3 or 4 ways. So what I can tell you is we do offer entomology internship, or you can work in the entomology lab to help research and get paid. We pay. And the other way you can participate in the WVU entomology program is the WVU Insect Zoo. So we need a lot of volunteers for the zoo. So my lab started the WV Insect Zoo in 2009, and we still have 20 to 40 live insects and their relatives like spiders and scorpions. So we have been providing outreach to WV students and public, like a K to 12 students throughout the year. We generally have 8,000 face contacts.
Wow.
I know it's a lot for one lab, but we are the entomology program at WVU. So WVU Insect Zoo may be the first thing you can consider and start working in entomology at WVU.
And that gives you an idea on whether or not you actually like working with insects. But I see the insect zoo all over the place. I think it's incredible. You guys do a ton of work all the time. You recently had a big insect zoo event here at the university, correct? That was about
Yeah,
2 weeks ago.
yeah. 800 people came
Wow.
in 6 hours.
I'm floored. I mean, one of my colleagues in my lab came. She loves insects and she absolutely loved it. She said it was an incredible learning opportunity, and there was a
Yeah,
lot of hands-on opportunities as well.
right. So you are in animal science. Hey, do you know insects are animals? The animal scientist should know about insects. How about that?
Yes, I definitely know a little bit, not enough, not as much as I
Right.
should, but that's why you're here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. All right. I wanted to see what advice would you have to give to someone who wants to start working in the entomology field?
Okay, okay, sorry. The sound was chopped.
Did it come out? Okay. I'll say that one more time. All
Okay.
right. What advice would you want to give to someone who wants to start working in the entomology field?
Okay. So I think again, so if somebody want to start entomology program or entomology interest at WVU, the one thing you can start is helping WVU entomology program through internship, research experience, or participating in WVU Insect Zoo outreach program. I think that would be the best way to start.
Just figure out whether or not this is the place for you. Kind of dip your feet in, get your toes wet, and figure out if this is the best option for your career path. I'm super thankful. During my undergrad, I had a lot of research opportunities with other labs just like this, and it kind of led me into where I am now. So I think taking advantage of these opportunities as a student is incredibly beneficial, and it's because of professors like you that these opportunities even exist. So that's incredible.
Right, right. So not only in entomology, is all of the programs are interconnected. So even you're working on like animal nutritional science, but insects are part of diet right now. We take out higher quality proteins and lipids from insects for human nutrition. So again, even though you are working on animal science or wildlife, insects are already associated with that. So
Absolutely. It's all interconnected. And I think that's one of the
exactly.
greatest things about agriculture is that everything all comes together at once. And again, we all have to be very knowledgeable about multiple different topics. What do you
Right.
think is the best thing about working in entomology?
The best thing working in entomology is actually, do you know how many species of insect we have in the world?
I don't.
It's a 1 million species described and named, which is about half of all the living creature identified and named. So,
Wow.
and then I think we have about 50 to 80,000 species of insect in West Virginia. So the problem is we have so few entomologists and we have so many species. As you said, we are, biodiversity hotspot, right? So this is also very challenging, but at the same time, you can pick to choose whatever you want to study. That's a good thing.
There's
There's
so many
no
opportunities.
shortage of
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Also, it's a kind of challenge as well because we have so few entomologists. So it's good and bad at the same time.
But that's why we need to entice more people to take on this job and this career field, and so that we can have people study these multiple different insects that live in West Virginia or in our world in general. But again, I think, your excitement for this is going to spark an interest in so many other students, and I'm sure it definitely has.
That's my hope.
Yeah, I love
Yep.
it. And My last question for you is what makes your life at this land grant so impactful or so special to you?
Yeah. So from the research standpoint, my research has been focused on insect problems or issues affecting West Virginia, sometimes beyond, but more likely West Virginia. So the result and outcomes of my research project are directly applicable to solving insect issues in West Virginia. So I'm very satisfied and proud of my research programs that can be part of accomplishing land grant mission of West Virginia, which is serving the citizens of West Virginia.
As you
So
should be. You should be incredibly proud. You have done so much work for the state and for the entomology industry in general. And I know we're incredibly proud to have you here. So thank you so much for all you do.
thank you. Thanks for the invitation, and it was a nice interview.
Well, you did incredible. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. All right, guys, that is the end of our podcast today. Make sure you tune in next week to see who we can understand about their life on the land grant.